We are live. Let's give a few seconds for people to roll in, and we'll see if we can get this horse out of the barn. So how's everybody doing today? Verdict watch. So let's think about something to talk about. Start off by this whole trial has been a dumpster fire. I've been watching since January, and I can tell you that there hasn't been a more, what's the right word? Unorganized set of prosecutors that I have ever seen in my life. The previous judge had a ex parte meeting where it involved a sworn witness, the prosecution, hey, Kat, and the prosecution's and the defense's, not the defense, the witness's attorney. They had a meeting in which they threatened Kenneth Copeland. They, put him in jail for the weekend, threatened him again on Monday, and then the judge didn't think that the defense should know about that. That is not only bizarre, it's beyond crazy. And then when Brian Steele found out about it, the judge threatened to put him in jail. What the hell kind of garbage is that? Where a judge threatens an attorney, which if somebody did a referral to the prosecuting, what is it called? It's the board that overlooks prosecutors and judges. I think that Glanville would end up getting kicked off the bench because I've looked up Georgia law. Georgia law says that in a situation like that, it's the judge's responsibility to immediately inform the defense that the meeting took place. Not only did he not inform him, hi, child of God, not only did he not inform him when Brian Steele told him that he knew about it, he threatened to put Brian Steele in jail. That's just a load of garbage. And then, hey, Texas T. And then we have the situation, I call it a situation yesterday, where Hilton was I called her, say that she was acting like a caged lion, pacing back and forth in front of the jury, yelling at them, screaming at them, saying, he's guilty, he's guilty, he's guilty, meaning the two defendants. Yeah, Keith Adams was spot on. He was defending Brian Steele. And Mr. Bott, I think is his name, Glanville told him, said, well, I got a problem with you now. And Mr. Bott said, that's all right. But the defense attorneys in this trial were among the best I've ever seen. Oh, and Kat, I messaged Kathy Rusan on X and asked her why Law and Crime was not, David Botts was not covering the future YSL trials, and she said that decision has not been made yet. And I just told her that I was a YouTube channel in Montana and I was covering the trial, and I wanted to know where to cover. Hey, Chadiggy, the status hearing on December the 3rd. So I'm waiting for her to get back to me. But this whole trial has been a dumpster fire from day one. I mean, I just started watching in January, and from the time that I started watching in January, hey, Chloe, I said this should be a mistrial. It absolutely should have been a mistrial. And then when Whitaker got it, when she first got it, I had high hopes that she would grant a mistrial. But that was not her thing. Her thing was to get it to the jury and let the jury decide. Well, I have to think that the jury's going to come back not guilty, but that's just me. That we have had so many issues in this trial that there is reversible error. She said today that she did not think there was reversible error. The ex parte meeting alone is reversible error because Judge Glanville held an ex parte meeting with the defense, not the defense, the prosecution, a sworn witness, and the sworn witness's attorney did not invite the defense, did not want the defense to know about it. In the meeting, they threatened the witness, and I would say they coerced him to testify because he did not want to testify. And we'll get into the reasons why I think he did not want to testify in a second, but he wanted to plead the fifth. And they went behind his back and gave him immunity without consulting his attorney. They went and talked to him without his attorney present. That's reversible error. I'm not a lawyer either, but I have lawyers in my family, and my aunt Janelle was the secretary to the chairman of the board of Mayer Brown and Platt, the largest law firm in Chicago. So, Woody then testified about the conditions at the jail, about the nut juice, about feces on the wall, and there. That should take care of that. No, I used my hotspot through Verizon, but I get paid tomorrow, and I'm going to order something else. No, I live in Montana, and I use my hotspot on my cell phone for my internet. It's unlimited, so So the ex parte meeting was reversible error. Woody testifying of the conditions in the jail where they didn't feed him all weekend. And that's witness coercion, you know. And then him saying, now he's got immunity. And the way I look at it, he basically confessed to the murder of Donovan Thomas. That's just my opinion. Because in the meeting, he said, I did these crimes. You don't know what I did and what I didn't do. Then on the stand, he said, no sense in protecting him anymore. He's not here with us anymore. So then that, then he got asked what he meant by that. And he said that he gave the infinity the threat. And the infinity was used to unalive Jonathan Thomas. And he knew what kind of weapon was used. He knew the rounds and everything because he was in the car. If he was in the car, he would have known what weapons were used, the shells and everything. And then we have Hilton's closing yesterday. That is just a dumpster fire all by itself. Because, see, a professional attorney would have done like Max did and stood at the lectern and gave his position, gave his close, and then, been respectful, said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want you to find him guilty, blah, blah, blah. Get passionate in parts, but keep your tone down. She yelled and screamed for 2 hours. She pointed at the screen and said, guilty, guilty, guilty. That's going to inflame the jury. They're going to be mad at her. That's disrespecting them. At least that's what I think. You don't disrespect the jury. Yeah, she was impersonating love, Nim. Yeah. And then I read on X that after her closing, when I think it was Drink's mom was crying, she walked over to Drink's mom and cried with her. And I really think that Drink's mom was crying because the wrong people are on trial. Yeah, she thought she was cooking. But it's like, what are you doing? Go sit down. I was yelling at the TV, saying, look, just shut up and go sit down. Because every point that she made, she was reinforcing with what the defense said. And the whole thing with the Drinks murder is that when Max showed, now there's two things. The medical examiner said that Drinks was shot at the base of the skull, which is in the back of the neck, and that the round shattered the spinal cord and basically like exploded the brain. And that it immobilized him. That means he could no longer move. And when Max showed that 34 seconds after Shannon's car left that he was still pumping the brake. That proves that Shannon didn't do it. That proves that Shannon did not do it. Because if you're immobilized and can no longer move and your foot is on the brake, your foot is going to stay on the brake. Yeah. 34 seconds. That was the biggest thing yesterday. And you're welcome, Blue-Eyed Hillbilly. I get emotional sometimes when I talk about the things that are going on in the military today, because it's a disgrace what they're doing. Yeah. Yeah. Immobilized means you can no longer move, period. Yeah. You know, all this DEI stuff, Professor Nez calls it didn't earn it. But I was listening to Pete Hegseth give an interview recently about the book that he just wrote about how China is eating our lunch in Asia and what we need to do to correct it. And he said the things that they are teaching our military is before they can shoot at them, they have to find out what their proper pronoun is. He said, what are they going to do? Walk across the battlefield and ask them, what's your pronoun before they shoot at them? He said it'll get them killed. Yeah, we need diversity, Chris, but not the way they're teaching it. Not the way they're teaching it. The way they're teaching it right now is that now I'm not racist and I'm not sexist. I'm just saying this the way they're teaching it. They're teaching that when you hire somebody, you don't look at their qualifications. You look at their race, you look at their sex and religion, that kind of stuff. When you hire someone, I used to own a business. When I hired somebody, I hired the best person for the job. I didn't care, male, female, black, white, yellow. If they could do the job, they got hired. And that's the way it should be. Drinks was in the left lane to go straight, and right was to go to 20 interstate, and they cannot prove it. That's right, Jadiggy. Right. And something else that Pete Heggs has said that made me laugh. He said, do you think a bullet cares about your pronoun? And I had to chuckle at that. Right. Right, Chloe. That's exactly the way it should be. You should be looking for the best qualified person for the job. And you know, when when Trump got shot at, I was in tears. And my daughter said, "Why do you care?" I said, because I lived through the JFK assassination. I lived through Bobby Kennedy. I lived through um, Martin Luther King. I don't want that to happen to another generation of Americans, because that tears the country apart. Everybody hates everybody. Yeah, see, and I believe in Martin Luther King's theory about race. We shouldn't look at the color of their skin. We should look at the content of their character. Right. Hilton doesn't echo anything. You know, after her close yesterday, here's what I came across with: her hatred for Jeffrey Williams has has colored her ability to look at the facts. Yeah, she yelled for 2 hours. Hi, FFS. She yelled for 2 hours. Me too, Chidigi. I don't see color. I don't see sex. You know, I have the opinion, if you treat me right, I'm going to treat you right. Right, Chloe. You know, this past 3 years, I've just looked at, we have abandoned everything that Martin Luther King stood for. That's the way I view it. Because he wanted us to get past all this race stuff, to look at people by the content of their character, which means their qualifications, and stop playing the race card. That's just the way I look at it, you know? And yes, we love you, Chidigi. You know, I love all of y'all. Right. You're right. The state was supposed to close, and then the defense close, and then rebuttal, which the judge calls summation, which means basically the same thing, which means that Hilton was only supposed to address things that the defense brought up. But of course, she had blinders on because of her hatred, and she, you know, she came across as angry and hateful. I can't. The only issue I have is with stupid people. I try to give everybody a fair shot, love everybody, and I just have issues with stupid people because you can't, as that one comic says, you can't fix stupid. Everything else you can fix. You know, you can go, well, I guess you could fix stupid. You could help them, teach them more things, you know, encourage them, Yeah. And the other issue I have is people that are rude. Yeah, Ron White. That's him. I have issues with people that are rude. You know, I used to live in Florida. I left Florida because of all the rude people. Not, I realize not everybody in Florida is rude, but where I was at in uh, Northwest Florida, I was in Perry and Mayo area. Perry has the most rude people that I've ever seen. Yes. You know, I used to drive a truck. I drove coast to coast. I did a lot of Chicago to Seattle and Chicago to Dallas. And even though I was raised by Chicago, Miami traffic has got Chicago beat. Hey, Courtney, welcome. I drove from Chicago to Seattle, and then I'd get a load back to Chicago, then go to Dallas, go Dallas to Utah, and that was I kind of did a triangle like that. Yeah, people people need to just get along, right? You know, I can share this. Uh, my one of my favorite cousins is his name is Billy Morgan, and he was running for state representative in Illinois, and he was running against a Republican in a Republican district, and he thought that he could unseat her. You can't unseat a incumbent in a Republican district if you're a Democrat. That just usually doesn't happen. So I talked to him last night, and he said he came close. He came within like 6 points, which for he said, but he said the how did he word that? The red wave that came this year was like a tsunami. And I told him that I saw a news report yesterday morning that said that 48% of Democrats want Kamala to run again in 2028. And he said, not in Illinois. He said, we don't want nothing to do with her ever again. So I thought that was kind of good. Yeah. I also been following the Judge Mullen case in Kentucky. Yes, I agree, Kat. There's a lot of infighting in the Democratic Party. The This morning they said that the DNC, which is the Democratic National Committee, which controls the Democratic Party, fired 2/3 of its staff. Let's talk about the Judge Mullins case. That's the case in Kentucky where, and now I've done a lot of research on this, and a lot of stuff doesn't make sense. So let's talk about it. The judge and Sheriff Steins were having lunch, and the judge said to the sheriff, "Hey, you want to talk about this in my chambers?" So they went back to the judge's chambers. Yeah, it does happen. I'm not saying that it doesn't never happen. And Sheriff Steins was trying to call his teenage daughter. His phone wouldn't dial. So he asked the judge, "Hey, I'm trying to get a hold of my daughter. Can I use your phone?" The judge said, "Sure," handed him his phone. He dialed the daughter's number. The daughter's contact information came up as saved on the judge's phone. So that sent a red flag for me, because what is a 55-year-old judge doing with the sheriff's daughter's phone number saved on his phone? That was one red flag. But then that didn't trigger the sheriff. The sheriff did not get triggered until the daughter answered the phone. It was whatever the daughter said when she answered the phone, thinking that the judge was calling her. And she said something, and he tossed the phone down, pulled out his service revolver, and unalived him. So the situation to me gets worse, because I called the detective in charge, the Keystone Cops. "Hey, Exotic, welcome." Yeah, exactly, Chloe. And they were abusing the female inmates in that judge's chambers. You telling me that that judge didn't know that that was going on? And the one inmate sued. And when she told her story on the stand in a neighboring county, the judge wept on the stand, because she said that the sheriff's deputy stripped her of her clothes, arred her in the judge's chambers, took her home monitoring device off of her, and told her, "You're not going to need that anymore," drug her through the courthouse, put her in a jail cell, then took the monitor and put it on the judge's bench and said, "She ran. She's a fugitive." Yeah, there was video of it. But the only thing, the video that I found didn't have any sound. And so now this gets back to what I think was really going on. I think that there was something going on between the judge and the sheriff's daughter. The family says, "No, no, 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 nothing was going on." It doesn't make any sense that there was nothing going on. Yeah, exactly, Chloe. He was framing them and doing all kinds of bad stuff. would take their phones, and it has to be pretty bad, the girl's story, to cause a judge to openly cry on the stand and tell her, I'm sorry, I'm just so sorry. But then my thing is, how does she get her reputation back? She's been falsely labeled as a fugitive. She's been so many bad things done to her by this deputy, and the judge had to know about it because it was done in his office. Right. If I remember right, Chloe, the deputy is in jail right now. But that makes you wonder too, did the sheriff know? Did the sheriff know what was going on? And was the sheriff involved? Because the way I looked at it, by yeah, it's really bad, Cat. I watched the preliminary hearing. Okay. There's something more going on because the lead detective testified that he collected the sheriff's phone, the judge's phone, but he did not collect the daughter's phone. And when the defense attorney asked him why he didn't collect the daughter's phone, he said, we'll get around to it. And the lead detective also testified that it wasn't his job to do witness interviews. Yeah, he was not emotional at all. I have a family full of cops. Okay. I called one of my cousins that I'm really close with, who was a 911 desk sergeant. And I asked him about that. He said, two things are improper in that situation. He said, one, you send a female deputy to interview the daughter. She gets interviewed alone, and the parent is nearby. He did not do that. He interviewed the daughter with her mom standing right next to her. And my cousin also said, Protocol 101, you collect her phone. He said, if you leave her with her phone, she can delete text messages, she can delete voicemails. And he said, you collect the phone. He said, that's Protocol 101. You collect everybody's phone, you make a copy of it, and you give them back the phone. Yeah. Yeah, it was like I was throwing things at the TV. It's like, what the hell are you doing, you idiot? It's like, meh, so what? I don't care. That's the way it came across. Like Chloe said, he was resigned to his fate, not emotional at all. Hey, Bahira, welcome. We're currently talking about the Judge Mullins case in Kentucky. We're all on verdict watch, which I don't think is going to happen right away, but we have to keep our eyes out. You know what I mean? So, that's a sad case. I did see that they postponed the trial. I can talk about the Moscow, Idaho college murder case. I've been following that. Usually I lean towards the defense because I want the defendants to get a fair trial. And if they're guilty, that they get found guilty, but they get a, a fair trial. Okay? Ann Taylor is his defense attorney. Ann Taylor is a complainer. She complained and complained and complained about getting the trial moved. She got the trial moved. She got a new judge. So at the first hearing with the new judge, he said, do not, I repeat, do not file voluminous motions. You won't like what happens. Yeah, you know, Hilton came across as angry and hateful and mean, pacing in front of the jury, yelling at them, pointing at the witness, or not at the witness, at the exhibits, saying guilty, guilty, guilty. That's not professional. That's very unprofessional. A professional lawyer does like what Max did, stands at the lectern, is respectful of the jury, says, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is what we think we have shown. It gets passionate in parts and then backs off, but stays cool, calm, and collected. She yelled at them for 2 hours. Yeah, yeah, Chloe. She's Here's one of the big things that I pointed out yesterday. She got angry because Doug pointed out the facts that they were using rap lyrics against the defendants. And the defendants happen to be black. So she gets up there. Yeah. She gets up there and she yells at them. Yeah, Woody did call it out on the stand. See, what she did with Woody was totally unprofessional. She went behind Melnick's back and met with Woody by his house, and then tried to say that she didn't know. Yeah, that she didn't know that he had a lawyer. Well, he had been Woody's lawyer since the beginning of the trial, or sooner. And Melnick showed that he represented Woody on a previous case and dealt with Love and dealt with the DA So the DI's office knew that he was Woody's lawyer. And the email messages, you know, should have tipped them off. Hey, I'm his lawyer. Because he told him, you're putting a target on his back. You're going to get him killed. And F you if you think I'm not representing my client. That should have told him he's his attorney, right? Yeah. One of the things always I always think about when Glanville's name comes up is the such disrespectful way he treated Max. He used to yell at Max and tell him, "Go sit down. Your your motion is denied because you didn't come and ask my permission first, so I could tell you how to word it." That's disrespectful. You don't tell a lawyer how to word their motion. You read the motion, read the case law, and you know, sustained or denied, overruled or denied, rather. But Glanville just so disrespectful. And what what is telling to me is I like Rachel Kaufman. I think Rachel Kaufman is a very good person. She said on Inside the Law a couple weeks ago that she and Judge Glanville were personal friends, and she tried many cases in front of him until this trial. She said, I don't know what happened to him. I've never seen him act like that before. And she said, I have no respect for him now. That tells you a lot, doesn't it? Yeah, so let's get back to the Moscow, Idaho trial a little bit. Yeah. Um, Ann Taylor is Koberger's defense attorney. She got the trial moved, got a new judge. It's what said she wanted. The new judge at the first hearing said, do not file voluminous motions. You won't like what happens. Ann Taylor filed 13 motions to suppress evidence. She wants all the evidence in the entire trial suppressed. Yeah, I liked when they had Judge. And this new judge, Judge Hippler, seems very stern because he told them, do not file voluminous motions. And she filed, I forget which motion was the first motion. She filed 13 motions. The first motion he denied. And in his denial letter, he said, the court does not appreciate, and then went on to word why he was denying her motion. If a judge tells you, I do not appreciate you, wouldn't you think twice about filing 12, your next 12 motions? I would think you would. we'll see what happens with the other motions. I haven't seen where they have hit yet. Also seen that Judge um, put in for his retirement. Here's something crazy about the courthouse there in Moscow, Idaho. There's no soundproofing in the jury room, and the jury room sits right next to the courthouse, or right next to the courtroom. The courtroom, and then the jury room is right here, and the door right here. They said there's no soundproofing in the whole room. And when you're in there for the jury, you can hear everything that's going on in the court. How crazy is that? But we'll see what happens with that. You know what I mean? There's so many crazy things going on. You know, I read an article this morning about the one girl's dad and mom. Well, this courthouse was built like, I think they said 80 years ago. It's very old. Kaylee Gonzalez's dad, I saw an interview last month. There's more evidence there than what the state is letting out to the public. Kaylee's dad said that she was shoved in a corner, sitting upright. Said that her bed took up the whole room, that you could barely get the door open, and the rest of the room was all bed. And said that she was shoved in a corner, sitting upright, and that there was his DNA on her arm and under her leg. Hey, Flesh. Yeah. Yeah, it was too straightforward, you know. And I've been following that since the beginning. And one of the things they showed is that he stalked Kaylee, because Kaylee was on the phone with her mom several times in the several weeks before that and said, he's behind me again. He's following me again. Wait, I have to stop talking. I have to take a picture of him. The cops wouldn't do anything. The cops wouldn't do anything because she kept going to them, kept telling them, this guy is following me. And all they would do is tell her, well, take a picture of the car and then bring us a picture of the car. But you got to take a picture and have a picture of the license plate. And she was doing that because she would be talking to her mom on the phone while she's trying to take the picture. And her mom said, well, what did the police say? They said, well, she said, well, I got to get a picture of him and I got to get a picture of the license plate, which means I have to pull over and stop. Well, if she pulls over and stops, the guy's going to know something's up and going to take off. Am I right? And then the sheriff, he was playing CYA, and he come out and said that there's no proof that she was ever being stalked. And I thought, you're full of it, dude. She's talked to your investigator. She's called in. She's reported it. She's been on the phone with her mom and told her mom what was going on. And it's like, these people just don't care. We need police officers, but we need police officers that care about the public. They care about the people that live in their district. You know, stuff like that bothers me. When you have cops that don't care, then they shouldn't be working there. They should go get a different line of work. Am I right? They should go get a different line of work. Yeah, complacent is right, Chloe. Too complacent. So I'm going to get off of here. It's been nice talking to y'all. You're all always welcome. And see you tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. Talk to you soon. Love you guys. Bye.